Hey everyone, it's Dr. Sherry here with another episode of Off the Couch. And we have the holiday season right now, not even approaching. It's coming, it's going faster than we can imagine. Thanks for joining me. Hi. But today I wanted to offer something a little bit more lighthearted, yet still something to get you thinking, and particularly to get us all thinking before we speak. So today's episode is really, I entitled it Saving Christmas. And that's because when we get together with family and friends, we have lots of gatherings, right? Sometimes we have to go to 4 different families. It depends on our family makeup and the geography of where everybody's located, but we can go to different family members' houses. We get invited to friend gatherings. There's a lot of opportunities for us to stick our foot in our mouth or to get egg on our face. And so what we're going to talk about, I have come up with a slew of examples of things that either I have said in the past, and I've stuck my own foot in my mouth many, many times, too many than I would like to talk about. There are things that have been said to me, and oh my goodness, since last week when I put out a request for everybody to send me ideas, I've gotten a lot of ideas and some really, really good food for thought as we are getting ready to go into the holidays and talking about what we say and how we can think before we say what's really on our mind. Hey, thanks for joining. So if you have any ideas as we're going through this, if it brings anything to mind, let me know. So I've written some notes down here because I have a ton of examples. So if you're just joining, we're talking about ways that we as people put our foot in our mouth and get egg on our face just by the things we say because we just don't take the time to think before we say them. So my hope is that in this episode, we'll be able to highlight some of those and we'll think about the things that we might tend to say. And we'll be more careful going into our holiday gatherings so that we can truly save Christmas, right? And save our relationships around the holiday table. All right, so I've arranged this into several different categories of things that we talk about or things that we kind of tend to say to people when we see them, particularly if we haven't seen them in a long time. And it's almost like second nature. It's almost like something that we just blurt out without thinking because it's a social norm. It's the niceties, right? But really, folks, they're not so nice, and we're about to find out. So I've arranged them into categories, and we're going to talk about statements regarding appearance. We're going to talk about things that we say or questions that we ask regarding, oh, this is a good one, relationship status, right? Because everybody wants to be in the know, especially your third cousin twice removed when you get to a family gathering. We're going to talk about the food that's actually there and things that we say or questions that we ask about the food. And we're going to talk about how we talk about our health, not only our own health, but other people's careers, your jobs, what you're doing, right? And basic etiquette. I'm going to end with some basic etiquette to help us get off on the right foot this holiday season. So let's start with appearance. Okay. I know that there are many, many people who are fixated on weight, fixated on appearance, right? And that tends to be one of the very first things we say to people when we see them. Let's say somebody has lost some weight or somebody has gained some weight. It could be all well-intentioned, right? And we might say something like, oh my goodness, you've lost so much weight, right? Okay. One person might be like, oh my goodness, yes, I'm so excited. I lost 50 pounds or whatever, right? Another person might not want that attention drawn to them. They might be thinking internally, and again, this is on them, but help them out a little bit with the way that we speak, right? They might be thinking, well, oh my goodness, like, did I look horrible before? You look so great. You've lost so much weight, as if that has some reflection on my character and my value as a person, right? But again, it's one of those things that we blurt out when we see people. Or conversely, well-meaning, you look so plump and happy, right? Somebody grabs your cheek or pokes the belly. Hey, folks, FYI, don't touch people. Don't poke their bellies. Don't touch their cheeks. This is for you, Aunt Frida. I don't have an Aunt Frida, but somebody does. Somebody might say, "You look so tired." How is that even something that you should say? If you think about that, "You look so tired." You're basically saying you look horrible. What's going on? Instead, if it's coming from a well-intentioned place, maybe you could say something like, "Hey, how are things going? What's going on in your life? What's new? Tell me about that," right? Not "You look so tired," or I've heard this one too, "You look unhappy," right? Yeah, I'm getting some laughs. Exactly, right? Stop it, people. Let's not say these things. And we're going to talk a little bit about what to do if somebody says these things to you, but I really want to give the rundown of all of these things that people have contributed. Like I said last week when I put the word out, I got so many people that said, "Hey, here, I've got one for your show next week." And a lot of these come from that, by the way. So I was actually just having a conversation today with somebody, and this was the outcome. So if there's a pregnant member of your family or a guest at your holiday gathering who's pregnant, don't rub their belly. I know it's instinctive. We kind of just want to reach out and touch somebody's belly and feel the life beneath of them, right? But it's not our belly. Don't touch bellies. Don't, you know what? Don't even ask permission to touch a belly. If a pregnant woman wants you to touch their belly, I'm pretty sure they're going to say, "Hey, the baby's kicking. Do you want to feel it?" Right? So it's not just about things that we say, but it's about things that we instinctively do, right? Like touching people's bellies. Now, here it's even worse in this conversation that we were having today about blunders that we make at not just holiday gatherings, but any gathering. If somebody may appear that they're pregnant, maybe they've got a little bit of extra weight around their belly or whatever, please, unless you know for certain that they are pregnant, and they have told you this, that is not hearsay, right? They have told you this. Please do not ask them when they are due, right? It's embarrassing for you, for them. I mean, think about the consequences of that. That's far reaching, right? So again, this is all things that we blurt out and say about appearance. And that's because we're just not typically people that focus on the who. We're always focused on the what and what the who is packaged in, right? I mean, the diet industry is a multi-billion-dollar gazillion. I'm getting a lot of laughs and loves, right? This is a totally relatable subject, you guys. So don't say when are you due. Here's the other thing, and I know that people mean this well, but when you say to somebody, when you say to a woman who's just had a baby, "You look so great for just having a baby," maybe there's somebody else in the room that's just had a baby, and maybe they're not feeling like they look so great. And guess what? Maybe not everybody's intended to revert back to the body that they had before they were pregnant. And maybe they will never be intended to have a size 2 or supermodel body, right? We all come in different shapes and sizes. Praise God for that, right? If we were all the same, that'd be just boring world. And we wouldn't be able to shine as our natural selves, right? But don't talk about people's appearance, especially women. I think it's the same for men. Don't poke their bellies and say, "Oh, look at you, little Pillsbury Doughboy," right? Don't do that, right? I know you think that people don't do this, but they do. And let me take just a minute to say, I know that many of us come from beautiful, warm, caring, loving families. And even in those beautiful, warm, caring, loving families, we say things like this and they stick with people, right? It's like that old saying that's a lie. "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me." Our words that we speak do hurt, and they're long lasting. I bet if I asked each of you right now to think of something that somebody said to you at a family gathering that hurt you, I bet each of you could have one thing come to mind right now. So that's what I'm talking about. These seemingly innocuous things, we never know the impact that they're going to have on somebody. And if you're really interested in somebody, or let's go back to appearance, if somebody wants to talk about their weight, they are going to make sure you know, "Oh, girl, I lost 50 pounds, right? You should try it. This was this amazing diet, and I got to eat pizza and chocolate cake." You've seen those commercials, right? But if they want to talk about their weight, they're going to let you know. If they want to talk about, I actually had somebody ask me one time, "Why did you dye your hair blonde?" And I just said, "Oh, because I wanted to." And so, again, some people might take offense to that, But really what we want to say is either, oh, I like your hair blonde, or you know what, I prefer it the other way when it was darker, dark brown or black, right? So say that, or don't say anything at all, right? My mom always said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Say what you mean and mean what you say, people, right? All right, so now this is one of my favorites, all-time favorites, because it's something that happens at every family gathering that I've ever been to, myself or other people's, like I've been to, friends, families. These are things that they talk about is relationship status, right? So if you, it doesn't matter what age you are, if you're single and you go to a family gathering, somebody is probably going to say, so do you have a boyfriend? Do you have a girlfriend? What's going on? And then somebody might take a step back and say, oh, well, don't worry about it. My best friend, he didn't even get married until he was 50. So you're fine. You've got plenty of time. Well, gee, thanks for making me feel better or focus on that. And maybe that's not important to me, right? Maybe I'm choosing to be single. Maybe that's not the intent of my life, is to find my soulmate, right? We just don't know. And so if we really want to get to know people and we really want to know what's important to them, we have a conversation with them. We don't ask them these questions that society says, we're supposed to be in these particular relationship statuses. So we're just going to ask about that as a matter of course. Here's another one. So you and a friend, maybe it's a long-term boyfriend or girlfriend, go and somebody grabs the woman's hand and says, let me, just checking to make sure, right? Or do I hear wedding bells? Or, oh my goodness, it's almost Christmas time. You know what that means. I bet you they're going to pop the question. Okay, listen, if somebody's going to get married, they're going to let you know. If they want to get married and they want that to be a topic of conversation, they'll bring it up. And if they don't, please leave it alone. It's not for you to know. It's not for you to talk about, right? Here's one. So let's say you had a significant other at the last year's family holiday gathering, and now at this one you have a new significant other, and somebody blurts out, kind of in secrecy, but not because it's a family gathering and things are overheard. It's like, it echoes, everything echoes when you're in a family or a holiday gathering. And somebody says, I never really liked the other one. I actually like this one a lot better. I've heard this, people, not for me personally, but I've heard other people say this. And it's just really distasteful is what I'll use that word for it. It's distasteful. Asking too many questions. So let's say somebody brings a guest to your home or to whatever family gathering. I need to grab a sip of water here. Let's say somebody brings a guest. Please don't put them under the interrogation light, right? With all these lights on them, asking them all sorts of questions about who they are and what they do and what their family's like and where they're from, and just have gentle, positive conversation with people. And I promise you'll get to know the things about them that they want you to know, right? So this is just really an opportunity for you to refine your social graces, for you to understand that there are going to be people who say these things to you or similar things to you. And again, we'll get to what to do about that. Or let's say somebody got divorced. Divorce happens, right? There is not a single family, including my own extended family, that has not been impacted by divorce. And so when that happens, the family holiday gatherings, the dynamics change, right? And new people come, sometimes new kids come, and things like that. And you really never want to ask, the formal kind of holiday gathering is not the forum to say, so what happened, right? What happened with the relationship? Here's the other thing. Even if you ask that question in private, most people who end up getting divorced can't pinpoint one thing. They're not going to be able to answer you right on the spot and say, oh, it was X, Y, and Z. And besides, what does it matter what happened, right? Let's move on. Let's focus on what's present. And if you have a close personal relationship with that person, you guys are going to have already talked about that, right? If they want you to know what's been going on with them relationship wise, they're going to tell you, and you're already going to be in the know. Otherwise, leave it alone, particularly in a group gathering. Here's another one. So let's say you're in a relationship, you're dating, you're married, whatever. And somebody says, so when are we going to get some nieces and nephews? When are we going to get some grandbabies, right? Because that's like the thing. And again, it's well-intentioned, right? People just want little babies to love on. But here's the thing, we don't know what people are going through, right? Maybe it could be, maybe they don't want children, right? And then now here's this topic, this big, huge topic that is now out in the open, right? Maybe they don't want kids. Maybe they've been trying to have kids and are really having fertility issues, right? Or maybe they're planning on adopting. Maybe they can't have children. Maybe they're working through a miscarriage that you know nothing about, right? So we need to be very sensitive. Somebody just commented, amazing, never thought of the impact some of these things could have. And you're absolutely right. We don't think about the impact these things could have. And that's kind of why I wanted to bring this to light on this show, is to have a little, humor, lightheartedness, but also for us just to really take stock of the things that we commonly instinctively say to each other that can really have long-lasting impact. And going back to talking about not knowing what's going on with somebody, going back to appearance, if you said to somebody, oh my goodness, you've slimmed down so much, you look amazing. What if that person is sick, right? What if they're ill? What if they're having trouble putting food on the table? I don't know. There could be a multitude of reasons why somebody is losing weight. And then to bring that to the surface and kind of put them on the spot, it's not really fair to them. And so again, I would just say, if it's about appearance, the only thing you should ever say is, you look great, or you look beautiful, or you look handsome. That's it. Don't qualify it with, oh my goodness, last time I saw you, you could hardly fit through the door. Or not that anybody would say that out loud, but some families might. I don't know. But again, it's kind of that meme that you see, that you never know what somebody else is going through. And it's just, this is an opportunity, particularly around the holiday season, for us to be empathic and be sensitive to those certain needs that people have. So here's the other thing about relationships. The family table, when you're all sitting there hopefully enjoying your time together, is not the opportune time to make a dig at your significant other, right? In some passive aggressive way. So maybe somebody brings up something and maybe you say, yeah, well, if I could ever get John, I'll just use the name John. If I can ever get John to do that at home, that would be the day, right? Look, that's not the opportunity to talk to your significant other about something that you should probably be talking to them about in private. And typically people say, oh, well, I was just joking. I would argue that there is always a nugget of truth to any joke. So just think about that. So again, the family holiday gathering table is not the place to make a dig at your significant other, particularly out in public, because really it makes you look like a what, right? A donkey. Okay, so let me talk about food for a minute. So this was an interesting one that I got when I was looking for feedback. Somebody said that they invited in-laws over for the first time for holiday dinner, and they made all this food because that was part of their culture. I mean, they made like tons of food. And the guests, the in-laws, went on and on and on about how they had made way too much food and how it was going to be wasteful and how there was no way that they were going to be able to eat all of this. And the person who made all the food, who spent all of that time tenderly, lovingly preparing based on this is the way that I love, I want to share all of these dishes with them, was very personally offended. And they actually never invited their in-laws back. And that's really, really sad. So if it comes to the food, don't say, this is way too much food. Just say, oh my goodness, this is so amazing. Thank you so much for all of the effort that you put into this. This is phenomenal, right? Don't talk about seasoning, right? Don't say, this could use a little bit of salt, right? Don't make judgments about something. In other words, don't bite the hand that feeds you, right? Some families are kind of like that, and they kind of accept that that's what people say to each other. And I still think that's rude. I think it's uncalled for. If somebody has invested their time, right, to share food with you, you shouldn't be critiquing the food. Just enjoy it and be grateful for it. Now, we are in the age, I'm sorry, I need another sip of water. Hey, new people, new friends, thanks for joining. So we are in the, oh my goodness, time is going by so fast. I hope I get through all of this. So we're in this age again where I talked about how people are so focused on weight, right, and appearance, and it's important. It's important for us to take care of our physical bodies, right? Because without taking care of our physical bodies, we're not going to be here for too long. I get that. Holiday gatherings are not the time to talk about all of your dietary restrictions, right? All of the special things that you can't or won't eat. Now, if you're going to somebody's house and they ask if you can bring something, and you have, let's say you have a dairy allergy, you could say, hey, I'd love to bring this. Would it be okay if I made it dairy free, right? I'm sure they'd say, absolutely, absolutely, that would be wonderful, right? But if you sit there at the table and essentially pass judgment, and I'm not talking about people with serious diseases like celiac, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about choices that we make to not eat certain things, particularly sugar, right? There's a ton of people, and research does show that sugar is bad for you. Got it. And it's the holidays. And if I choose to eat a piece of pumpkin pie, I'm going to eat a piece of pumpkin pie. I don't need to hear about all of the cell damage that's going to occur because I'm ingesting 20 tablespoons of sugar, right? I also don't need to hear about how it's going to affect my waistline. I want to enjoy my pumpkin pie and have a beautiful holiday feast with you, okay? So let's not talk about all of those types of things at the table when we're just trying to enjoy some family time together, because it really passes judgment and it makes other people feel uncomfortable. Now, again, that's they can choose how they respond to that. You choose how you respond to things. I choose how I respond to them. But we can also set the stage for a more successful family gathering by not talking about those things effusively, right, over and over and over again. Oh, and here's one that was told to me today, and this is huge, talking about food and drink. Somebody said, I quit drinking, and people that know me, they know that about me. But I once heard, oh, you quit drinking? It's okay. Just have one glass of wine with us. Please do not say that to anyone ever. It is never okay. If somebody has explicitly said to you that I do not drink, you don't even need to go into any further discussion about that. You can say, great, what can I get for you, right? How about some sparkling cider? How about making a toast with that with us, right? But take seriously the things that people say. Similarly, if somebody has a food allergy, don't tell them, oh, a little bit of gluten's not going to bother you. Just let them eat what they're going to eat. And if you have food sensitivities or things like that and you're going to a gathering, for me, I can't eat gluten. If I go to my mom knows that, right? So we talk about how we can do different things for gluten to make things gluten-free. However, if I go to somebody else's house, I am acutely aware of what I can and cannot eat. And I might discreetly say after the meal, hey, everything was so wonderful. I just didn't eat this because of this, right? So that my host doesn't feel uncomfortable. And if they ask, I'll tell them beforehand. But you know what your needs are. The whole table, the entire room, they don't need to know, right? They don't need to know the ins and outs of your story. We only have 5 minutes left. So I'm going to hit on one more thing before we talk about basic etiquette. So health, right? There's a lot of us that face health challenges. And again, people mean well when they say things like, well, my cousin had that same thing, or my best friend had that same thing. And here's what they did. And they were just completely cured, or somebody obnoxiously whips out, their sample packet of essential oils. I am not knocking essential oils, people. What I'm talking about is that there's a time and a place when somebody's sharing something personal with you, if somebody's sharing something personal about a health struggle, say, wow, tell me more about that. What's going on? What are you doing about that? And then maybe later, one-to-one, maybe have a conversation with them and say, hey, I was just wondering if you thought of this. But again, everybody's experience is different, and everybody's response to medications and treatments are different. And so we need to be sensitive to that. And we need to understand that not everybody is going to have the same experience. And I know that sounds like common sense and like, who would say that? But people say stuff like that all the time, and they practice they practice as an armchair physician in situations like that. And I think that can only serve to add to the tension in a room. So I'm going to end with a couple of things about basic etiquette. Another person reached out to me and said, oh my goodness, here's one for your show. Could you talk about RSVPing? Because I'm trying to make plans for my holiday gathering, and I'm struggling to make them because people aren't responding to me, right? And they're not saying for sure whether or not they're coming. They're not for sure saying how many of their family members are coming. So people put a lot of effort. If you entertain in your home, you put a lot of effort into inviting people over, and you want things to be just right. And it's very difficult to do that if you don't have the accurate information, right? If you don't have the number of people that are coming, setting places at the table. And please don't bail, barring, emergent sickness or whatever, don't bail at the last minute. Be sensitive to your host. They invited you for a reason because they want you there. So either commit to going or don't. But if you commit to going, show up with gusto, show up with something, food, a bottle of wine, something, and a positive, cheerful attitude, and not any of those things that escape our lips as people. Bring only what they ask you to bring, right? So sometimes I actually watched, I think it was a sitcom, and the in-laws came over and for Thanksgiving, and the people whose home it was at, they had made a turkey. Well, the other in-laws actually brought a turkey of their own. And so I know that's a sitcom, but it's insulting, right? And so we're basically saying, I don't trust you to have good enough food, so I've got to make sure, to have myself covered. And that things like that have happened. Maybe not necessarily the whole turkey or the ham, but you get my point. So I want you guys to focus on this. When you're around the family holiday table, the whole reason you're there is because people want you there. And hopefully the reason that you're there is because you want to be there, right? So I would challenge you, if you really don't want to go somewhere because you're really, just not feeling great about it, feeling like every time you go, it's so dysfunctional and you just don't want to be around that, that's your prerogative. Do that. But don't keep going and keep subjecting yourself to something that makes you miserable, right? So either choose to adjust your attitude to say, I'm going to have a great time, and this is what I'm going to do because I choose to do it, not because I have to do it, but because I choose to do it, and go and make memories, right? Topics of conversation, talk about past holidays together, talk about past experiences, talk about vacations, talk about books you've read, talk about life, right? Talk about things that you're doing, not bragging that you made 6 figures, right? Not that. That's not life. That's things that happen in life, but talk about life and talk about who you are and invite other people to do the same thing. And I promise you, it's going to be a very, very Merry Christmas. And I thank you guys for checking me out this evening on Off the Couch with Dr. Sherry. I'm going to move this show to a new time and a new day, which I'll let you know about. So if you haven't liked my page, Dr. Sherry, please like it and follow me first so that you see all my posts so that you can keep up to speed with what the topics are going to be. And for each of you watching, thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you chose to spend the last half hour with me. And I'd love to hear your feedback. I'd love to hear your recommendations for future shows. And I will see you all soon. Have a very Merry Christmas, everyone. Stay safe and a Happy New Year. And I'll see you in 2019.